I think it was for sure the best decision I could have made, also because I like ARCHIP and I enjoy my time here, but also because of the city. For sure, it's very beautiful. I found out about ARCHIP through a friend who also studied here.
Good afternoon. This is ARCHIP podcast and I'm Regina Loukotová, the head of the school. Today I'm going to interview Ilinca.
Hello.
Our second year student. And first I have to ask her, what is your background? Where do you come from? And tell us something about yourself.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. And about myself, I come from Romania, Bucharest. I've been living there my whole life, so nothing too interesting. But my background with architecture, for example, because I think that's more interesting, I did some architecture courses for 2 years because I was a bit torn between ARCHIP and the university in Romania when I got to choose. And for the university in Romania, they kind of have a methodology that's a bit exact, and they ask for some more concrete things, I would say. Here at ARCHIP, everything is much more creative and just more free. And I did those courses for 2 years where I learned to draw, but I only learned to draw mostly already existing buildings. So it was nothing creative, or I couldn't do my own projects, which is good in a sense, but also bad. It has its pros and cons. But you learned during those courses, I suppose you attended them while studying at your high school? Yeah.
And you went there once a week, for example, and they taught you how to draw. Do you mean with pencil and linear?
Exactly.
Classical.
The old way, basically. Yeah, I used to go there, so I had no breaks, no gap years or anything. I pretty much finished middle school, went to high school, went for ARCHIP. And while I was studying for my final exams, I was also going to these courses for architecture. I used to go once or twice a week for 4 hours.
And drawing only, or because when I did exactly the same. I was going to, let's say, this after-school activities called the Basic Art School. I went there twice a week, but closer to the to the entrance exams to the university. I was there almost every day, but we mostly learned how to sketch. Did you learn that at all as well, or was it more more concentrated on architectural drawing?
It was mostly focused on architectural drawing. We did a lot of technical drawing, a lot of perspectives, and learning how to do a 1-point perspective, a 2-point perspective, and how that works. Also spatial geometry a lot, of exercises, so you can develop your mind. So
interesting. But I'm definitely happy that you chose us and you are here living in Prague for already second year. So tell me, how did you find Prague and studying in Prague and coming from Bucharest? I think it was for sure the best decision I could have made, also because I like ARCHIP and I enjoy my time here, but also because of the city. For sure, it's very beautiful. I found out about ARCHIP through a friend who also studied here. So she really promoted it to me, and I kind of followed into her steps. It's really, for me, it was a hard choice to decide on what I want to do later on in life and choose a subject that I want to specialize in. I think it's something most of us go through. I know some people who are just yes, I'm going for this, doing that. I was not like that, so it was a bit harder for me. But having someone who already went through these experiences and who could give me feedback was really helpful. And also hearing about ARCHIP through social media or through the website and so on was, again, very helpful to make a decision. I didn't know anything about Prague, to be honest. No, I have never been in Prague before, and I didn't have any expectation necessarily. Not because I have a bad view of it. It's just that I'm easily pleased, let's say. I like to be surprised, and I can find joy in small things.
So when I came here, it was crazy. I really loved it. And there's not a day in which I walk to school and I'm not like, it was the best choice I could make, really.
Yeah, that's indeed, that's something which I love to hear. And I'm also happy that you enjoyed here. And as you said, that you are not the person who would be like predefined in studying architecture or having one subject to follow and to study. I mean, that's so natural, especially in these days. I think when I did study, that was a choice either to study medicine or economy or architecture. That was like more clear. But now with the options which you have, like combine your studies, or there are study programs which are just popping up year after year. But you are now studying our bachelor program, which is 3 years program, and we also offer the second program, which is master program. Anyway, so you have 3 years in Prague, and then it's up to you where where to go further. But when we speak about the bachelor program of ours, I mentioned that you are in the second year. Can you tell me something, or not to me, but to our audience, something about, what projects are you working on at the moment? Because the architecture studies consist in all semesters of a main project, which is half of the semester, which actually most of the time is dedicated to the projects, and then there are supplementary courses. So first, I would like to ask you about the project you are working on at the moment, and later we can talk about the courses.
Yeah, for sure. This semester I signed up for the Vinima studio. It was really interesting seeing it there, for sure, and I chose it mostly because I knew I was at the time thinking it would be a one-time experience, and I wanted to see how it would go. And the project I'm working on right now, it's a bit more confusing with SkyCity. It's not like the normal studios you would see here at ARCHIP, because the other studios, for example, just focus on a building or an area, or just something more, I would say, smaller scale compared to the SkyCity. For us, with the SkyCity, we're redesigning Prague in the sky, basically. So,
which is not easy, indeed.
Yeah, it's not an easy job, but it's for sure very interesting. And what I'm currently working on is basically the modes of transport and how that's gonna go up in the sky, the vehicles, designing them, trying to figure out what technology it's needed for it to be up there. Throughout the semester, I've also been coordinating the teams, making sure everything goes smoothly, especially in the earlier stages. And it's been really interesting, for sure. So
I have to just confirm, Vinimas is our visiting professor for only 1 year. We met him 2 years ago when working on the project where 5 schools of architecture collaborated, called Czech Visions. He's a Dutch architect, so his view on architecture, on contemporary architecture, and what all architecture actually means, it's, I would say, very different from, let's say, the Central Eastern European view. As you also mentioned in the beginning, we are more focused on buildings, on drawing buildings, on designing facades and plans, while Dutch architects are known for looking on, actually not only on the buildings and cities, but on the whole nations, and also on the earth as a one. So when he came with the idea of Sky City, was new to us, but when I followed your presentations or your projects, how you work, because you work in one team, sometimes you are split into more teams. First of all, this is not easy, and the topic is not easy as well. And what I felt there was that you really have to squeeze your brain. I had to do it myself when listening to me. So it's not easy, but I think it makes you think, and sometimes think differently, sometimes think traditionally as well. And I think in that respect you kind of learn how to think about things, let's say.
Yeah, even though it's an abstract project, you can, every time we ask for feedback from Vini, again, it's very abstract. Some things make more sense than others, but he always thinks about functionality. Like he always tries to find reasoning for how it's gonna work, or why it's gonna work like that, and kind of just asking a lot of questions for us to think about the functionality.
Yeah.
So.
And also probably needs to be mentioned that he is usually teaching master students.
Yeah.
So this is for him probably the first time he's teaching at the bachelor level. So there are some master students in your studio as well, because we have vertical studios where students from all years are working together. So it's double as difficult, I understand. But last year, in your first years, you also had some projects. So if you can mention maybe some of them, or the courses you went through, because when we, let's say, promote our school, we always mention that Prague is our laboratory. We are in the historical city, but we teach modern architecture, but still we have, I think, relatively a lot of historical classes, and we try to combine art, history, theory, technical courses. So, I mean, pick anything you want to talk about. And
I will briefly mention the projects for the studio. For us, it was a bit special again. We're just a bit more special. But for the first semester, we obviously had the introductory studio with Shimon and Lukasz, our teachers. I think they also came on this podcast, so I recommend listening to theirs as well. They were great. They really encouraged us and kind of helped us form a way of thinking about architecture. I remember I was always like, I don't know, kind of lost at the beginning. Obviously, you're getting intimidated by your other colleagues, especially the older ones. You're like, oh, they're so good, they're great. But every time they would come in and be like, no, think about how it works. Again, why it works like that, which I think it's very important. I cannot stress it enough. Like something I try to always think about. And for the second semester, we also had our studio with them, which for me was a great experience. I think it made me start the second semester just a bit more prepared and a bit more prepared. And
so would you mention probably some of other courses which you went through, because indeed our students find interesting sometimes, the courses when you combine, let's say, in class teaching with going outside. Also, probably you had some excursions outside of Prague, and we did also some, let's say, shorter projects, like the project we had with Bagueterie Boulevard. So, any of you, if you can pick and tell a bit more about how it went, what you did, and
for sure. I think ARCHIP is really good with activities like the trips you mentioned or the workshop. The trips we had for now were great. Most of them, I really enjoyed them. And I think they're very helpful, not only because obviously you learn a lot of things, but it's a nice break from architecture, because we all know architecture can be a bit demanding sometimes, but just spending time with your teachers and like classmates, doing something that all of you are passionate about can be great for sure. As for the BB workshop that you mentioned, because we had it this year, so while I'm doing the Vinima studio, we also had the baby workshop, and it was great because it was a bit more realistic. So it helped me focus on something else for a bit, and then when I came back to the Sky City, my mind was a bit more clear and I could come up with new ideas. But the BB workshop, how it worked, we had different students from different years who just had to work in a team and redesign or find improvements in actual designs of the Bagueterie Boulevard shops. So in my team I only had older students than me, but it was really nice for sure. I also got to know them better, which is nice, and their insight and how they see architecture and how they work and the programs they work in. It was really nice seeing that, and just the workflow in general.
Probably what I can add is that we were approached by the owner of Bagueterie Boulevard, which is actually what I learned later, the third biggest chain of fast food in the Czech Republic. It's a Czech company. Many people think that they are French or international. They are Czechs, but the Czechs who started it, or the owner and CEO of the company, but they want to be international because they invite different cook to participate and on their menu and so on. So we were approached by them, and we decided to make like condensed project, which took 1 week. And at the beginning, the students went to their headquarters. We got an initial lecture about what they do, what they want to do, what are their pluses, minuses, whatever. Indeed, always the meetings were followed by great refreshment. We had lots of baguettes, and
much appreciated,
and coffees and everything. And then students had to study their competitors, as well as their shops. Then they had some days to work on the improvements of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. Now I don't remember how many
4, I think,
shops.
but we had
4.
8 teams in total.
True, but 2 teams worked on one shop. And then they presented it to the owner, to the architects who are in charge of those shops, and to us and to other students. So that was a 1 week project. That was interesting, and we did such projects before, and we are going to continue with them. Next semester it's going to be to Africa, to Burkina Faso. We want to do it together with local architects and work on some improvement on a public space. Great, so these are the courses, studios. What is your view on architecture now, after studying here for 1.5 years? Or what was, your view on, let's say, built environment before, and how is it now? Did it change, or was there some?
Yeah, for sure. And because we've been talking about all of these workshops, and I'm trying to compare it to how I was before and how my mind worked, because that changes a lot when you start studying about it. I was actually very interested in psychology as well. So, and I don't know, maybe some people think that you do architecture and you just build buildings, but it's really not like that. I was happily surprised that you take into consideration how people's mind, how it works.
You were interested in psychology. That's interesting, because it's always interesting to, and there are some studies about, how specifically interior, how the architecture, be it outside or inside, how does it influence the human mind? Yeah,
exactly. And it's really interesting learning about the user, and not only the people as pets, but also how they interact with the space. It's for sure, it makes a difference. Now I'm walking through the city and I'm going to a restaurant and something, and I can look around and I can like slightly judge it, and I can have more of a critical opinion about things, but it's an educated opinion, I feel like, because I have the means to kind of judge it now. But
I understand. I hope that not only inside the restaurants, but also when you walk, when you are walking outside, sure. Because you definitely have noticed people, or usually on the street, people are looking, down at their feet and never up. So that's also important to look around and
it was actually something we learned during one of our courses, urbanism, and also one of another course we had, sociology, where we learned about flaneurism and the art of just walking and not knowing where you go, which was really interesting. But it's for sure. I feel like buildings can also help you connect with yourself, and can help you, like when you look at a building, it makes you feel some things, and then you can think about how it makes you feel, and can help you grow as an individual as well.
And then you can think about how would you do it if you would get the project. How would you solve it if you would solve it differently, or in the same way? Good. So then I probably have my last question is about your future. Because as you mentioned at the beginning, architecture, and indeed under this title there are several other let's say professions or fields like landscape architecture, master planning, urban planning, interior architecture, just name it. So indeed you are only in your second year, or you have studied for 3 semesters, so it's still a difficult question to ask about what are your plans. But do you know whether you are going to continue with architecture or jump to totally other field, or if you will combine it with other studies? Or
it is for sure a harder question to ask right now, but before I came to ARCHIP, I thought that, okay, you do bachelor's and then you do master's, everything in architecture, and then you're done. But something that we learned even from our teachers who have such broad experience, not only in architecture but in other subjects as well, is that you don't necessarily have to continue with the architecture you know. There are many variations and many branches you can go to and find something that really fits you. I'm still looking for that something. I will not lie. I'm a bit undecisive, and it takes me a lot to decide on something. But I think that with the experience that I will get from this semester, next semester, I will probably set my mind on something at least and look more into it.
But that's very natural. I mean, that's what we say, that in bachelor program you really just learn to know what architecture means, and then you decide, which path to go. Also, concerning, whether you want to go back to Romania and practice there, or you want to stay here or go somewhere else. All that will also influence your decisions.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I really learned not only at ARCHIP but in Prague is that networking really matters, and I cannot stress this enough, and I can recommend to everyone, be friendly, make friends, be social. I've had such good experiences because of people I randomly met, and it was just nice to, and they've helped me a lot. I'm also volunteering at U Design, and it has been such a nice experience because we at U Design, I will just give a brief description of what it is we are instructors, and we hold workshops for kids, and it's architectural workshops, so we teach them about scale, technical drawing, and model making. So it's kind of a mini ARCHIP but kids, but it's really, really interesting, and the people I've met there have been so nice to me, and it's just such a nice break, and I again recommend doing activities like that. And
that's ideal. I mean, combining somebody has to combine studies and work, but volunteering, I think that's something which needs to be done as well. And it's great that you are doing that. Is there something else you want to mention? Otherwise, that was my last question.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to talk about your experience as a headmaster and what are the challenges you face, because obviously you only see our perspective as students, and I think it would be also nice to hear you talk about how it is, and I think we're all curious. So
probably we can that would be an idea for another podcast, to interview me. So this we can do as well. No, indeed, what my feeling is that our school is, developing every semester. When I started the university, I thought, okay, we start the university and that's it. We have our study programs, we have, premises, students, so that's it. But I feel more and more, because this is already our 14th or 13th year, that, the changes are on daily basis. So nowadays I'm working on the doctoral program. That I think that's the program which can help us a lot. It could bring some of our alumni back. We can more involve our former students into teaching. Like this semester we started with 3 of the people who are helping here and working, which I enjoy a lot. It's also something new to me.
For sure. I think they have a good understanding of how we feel and how we work, obviously because they've been there and they've been there recently. But they know what we need, which is very nice. So all of our teachers, most of them, I cannot think of one that isn't right now, but all of our teachers are great, and they're very good at what they do. and that they're understanding. So I have no complaints in that sense, but it's nice having a youthful mind that just comes to you, and it's like an easier connection. So I think it's nice sprinkling a few older students, like previous students, that could help us a bit.
But that's also new to me, and I'm happy that it works, and that it like pushes us a little bit further. I feel pity that there is such a, let's say, gap, like in terms of years between you and me, because it's strange to say, but indeed I feel like being as old as you are. So, but indeed there is already like 30 years difference. So no wonder that sometimes our thoughts, our ideas doesn't match yours. But indeed, most of, our staff is, our tutors are still pretty young. I think the oldest one, we have one professor who is over 70, but it's more an exception. I think the teachers here are 55 or younger. And indeed, having somebody as young as a fresh alumni, that's something which helped the school running. So. So that would be my short answer to your question about how I feel or I perceive the school. But at the end, not at the end of our series, but I think we have to probably ask somebody probably some of you to interview me, and we can have another part
I think
of the podcast.
It could be very interesting for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was it. Thank you very much for being with us,
Thank you.
enjoy your studio today.
Thank you.